In a village nestled among the hills, lived a man named Zondani. Zondani was an unusual man, for while others busied themselves in the fields, he spent his days and nights watching the world around him, lost in thought. He was often caught staring at the clouds during the day and the stars at night, but nothing held his gaze quite like the moon. Oh, how he loved the moon! It hung in the sky, casting a soft, silver light over the village every night, almost as if it were watching over them all. One warm night, as the moon shone brighter than ever, Zondani sat outside his small hut, staring up at it. It seemed so close, so clear, that he thought he could almost reach out and touch it. And that was when an idea, a rather absurd idea, took root in his mind. He thought, why can't I bring that beautiful light down here, to my village, where we can all bask in it forever? He imagined how much brighter his world would be if he owned the moon, if he could place it over his house and light up the village every night. Such beauty, he thought, should belong to those who truly appreciate it. The more he thought about it, the more he convinced himself that the moon was meant to be his. So, Zondani went to work. First, he tried the simplest thing he could think of, climbing a tree. He chose the tallest tree in the village, a great baobab with branches that stretched wide and high. Zondani climbed higher and higher, clutching the rough bark, his eyes fixed on the moon as if it were a golden fruit just waiting to be plucked. But when he reached the highest branch, he stretched his arm out only to find that the moon seemed as far away as ever. It merely smiled down at him, as if amused by his foolishness. Zondani wasn't discouraged, he was simply more determined. If a tree couldn't bring him closer, then he'd need something better. The next day, he visited the village elder, a wise woman who knew the secrets of the land and sky. He asked her how he might reach the moon. The elder shook her head and warned him, "The moon is not for taking, Zondani. It belongs to the sky, where it watches over us all. Such things are beyond our reach." But Zondani was stubborn. He refused to listen. "If I can't reach it from the ground, then I will build my way up," he declared, his eyes gleaming with excitement. And so, he began collecting stones, stacking them one atop the other just outside his hut. Day after day, Zondani worked, ignoring the laughter of the villagers who thought he had lost his mind. Children would sneak up to watch him, wide-eyed, as he piled stones, building what he called his moon tower. Zondani stacked stones for weeks, sweating and toiling from dawn until the stars appeared in the evening sky. But no matter how high his tower grew, the moon still stayed out of reach. And as his tower grew, so did his ambition. He began to look for anything he could add to it: logs, old baskets, bits of cloth. Nothing was safe from Zondani's construction. He even borrowed the village drum, thinking it might somehow add height to his ever-growing pile. One night, after his tower was tall enough that he had to climb it using a rope, he finally reached the top and found himself closer to the moon than he had ever been before. His heart pounded with excitement. "Tonight," he thought, "tonight, the moon will be mine." He reached out, hands trembling, and stretched with all his might, but as his fingers neared the glowing orb, a strange thing happened. The moon seemed to pull away, as if it were playfully drifting farther from his reach. Frustrated but undeterred, Zondani leaned forward even more, straining to grasp it. But just then, a gust of wind swept through the night, shaking his shaky tower. The logs and stones wobbled, and Zondani, thrown off balance, tumbled down, 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 landing with a loud thud in the dirt below. When he awoke, he found himself surrounded by the villagers, who were trying hard not to laugh. They helped him to his feet, brushing the dust from his clothes. The village elder approached him, smiling kindly, and said, "The moon cannot be owned, Zondani. It belongs to the night sky, and it is meant to inspire, not to be held. Some things are beautiful because they are beyond our reach. Zondani sighed, finally accepting what everyone else already knew. And as he looked up at the moon, still shining brightly above, he felt a deep sense of peace. He no longer saw the moon as something he needed to own, instead, he saw it as a gift, one that everyone could share. From that day forward, Zondani no longer tried to possess the moon. Instead, he would sit outside his hut each night, gazing up at it with a newfound respect. The villagers, too, would often join him, sitting in quiet admiration of the moon's beauty, which, they realized, was indeed meant for all. And so, under the watchful glow of the moon, the village rested, bathed in the light that could never be claimed, but would always be cherished. The story of Zondani and his moon tower became a tale passed down from one generation to the next, a gentle reminder that some things in life are best admired from afar, forever unclaimed yet forever ours.